Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome to another Roma Press live stream. Thank you for being here with me. It's a rainy afternoon here in Luxembourg, so um, I wanted to get together this afternoon or this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world, and talk about what happened last night in Moldova as Roma beat Sheriff 2-1. I'm Andy. I'm the co-host and co-editor of the Roma Press podcast and romapress.net. Um, I want to thank the 9 people that are with us right now, 8 right now. So I see Richard wrote Buongiorno. Buongiorno, Richard. Thank you for being here. We're going to wait a little bit until more people come in. In the meantime, I wanted to once again also. Oh, hello. Hello, HH. Hello, bro. Hello. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. I know that there are some of the viewers who are more frequent than others. Good morning from Philadelphia. Love Philly. Loved Philly. Went to Pat's. I went to Pat's in the spring. Fantastic Philly cheesesteak. And I just love the city. I love the vibe. Love the used bookshops. It's just a great place. Did the whole Rocky run up the stairs. Loved it. Nicholas says, hello, Andy. Hello, Nicholas. Thank you for being here. Johnny, yes, Johnny, another broadcast, trying to make it more frequent, trying to, if there's some interesting talking points. And I think last night, despite maybe the result being quite obvious, a win was expected against this type of opponent early on in this competition. Still, there were some things that we liked, some things we didn't like, some things that are a bit puzzling, such as Renato Sanchez's condition. So plenty to talk about today. We need to get you on Angelo's cheesesteak next time. Well, yeah, thank you. I'll keep that in mind. I have a friend now moving to Philly, so I'll have a base, and I just love that place. So I'll keep it in mind. Angelo's, okay. Richard, nice shirt. Well, thank you, Richard. This was a gift, so which is weird. So my the shirt number behind me is the year of my birth and my name, so it's not really um exciting, but I like the design. I like the lupetto, and it's one of the coolest shirts that Roma produced in the last few years. Ciao, Joey. Thank you for being here. Yes, wow, Andy in a Roma shirt. Yeah, I had to, when you do when you do these things more frequently, you realize your wardrobe is quite limited. So, guys, there's 20 of us right now, 25, so please smash the like button so that we can get a bit more traction. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, this is where all the latest Roma Press podcast episodes will be out in video format. So as you could see, the last episode that was recorded a few days ago was the first episode that is available in video. You can watch us react to Roma's win against Empoli. I will be recording with John right after this live stream. So the new episode should be out later today, tomorrow at the latest, and it will be from now on. It will be regularly available in video format on YouTube, and obviously also on all other platforms as well. So if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel. You'll get a notification when we're doing another live stream, when we're dropping a new podcast episodes. And if you want early access to the podcasts, if you want extra episodes, as well as some other cool gifts, and also an inclusion into our crazy, psychotic Roma Press patron group chat on WhatsApp, then please consider going on patreon.com/Roma Press, and you can support the show, and that really helps us, and we can keep this going. So thank you, everybody, for being here, for following me. This is another live stream. So I think it's time to get into it. I see, yes, Reza, it is. That is a Goodfellas poster This is Pulp Fiction, and this is a movie from the 70s called Mickey and Nicky with Peter Falk and John Cassavetes, where they play two brothers, and John Cassavetes is a small-time gangster. And then I have a taxi driver poster on the other side of the wall. So, um, wow, hello from Jakarta. That's amazing. Great, Camille. Bonjour, Camille. Hello, guys. Thank you for being here with me. Let's get into it. Roma, they win against Sheriff 2-1. And I want everybody's impression. I want everybody's thoughts on this. Did you like it? What did you not like? Were you excited to see Romelu Lukaku score? Give me your thoughts. I want to see reactions. I want to see suggestions as Roma prepare themselves really to play Torino in 2 days' time. So I doubt they even have the time to leave Trigoria. I believe Roma will just end up staying at Trigoria until tomorrow evening, when they will travel to Torino. We'll see if Mourinho even decides to attend a press conference, because we know how Mourinho is. Whenever there is not enough time really to recover after a midweek fixture, he tends to refuse to discuss the weekend fixture in a pre-match press conference. So we'll see how that goes. Last night, Mourinho was not on the bench. He was in the stands, and that will be obviously valid for the next 3 games. So, I mean, more or less the whole group, Mourinho is just taking it easy, and he will have to rely on his staff because of his suspension. So, Roma, last night they play Sheriff. The game starts off pretty difficult. Roma maybe take it too easy, a little bit too easy, and they end up suffering not enough control. And then that goal was a bit flukish, but you know how it is in the Europa League, and this early stage of the competition, anything goes, right? So. Let's see. A little bit sloppy with Ndika in the midfield first half. Yeah, okay, we can discuss Ndika obviously, because Ndika looks to make his third consecutive start on Sunday. It is unlikely that Chris Smalling will recover in time, and even if he does, it will be interesting to see whether Mourinho, decides to disrupt Ndika's, streak. Whether he keeps him in the starting lineup, whether he chooses to put Llorente on the bench, because Ndika needs minutes. It's evident. Yes, he is slow, a bit sluggish, a bit sometimes makes mistakes with the passing. But I thought overall, in terms of intensity, and also in terms of breaking up the play and anticipating the opponent's movements, I thought he was quite good. So Sean says hello from Scotland. I go to multiple matches at the Olympico every season. Well, that's brilliant, Sean. I used to study in Scotland. I used to study in Aberdeen. So we have that connection going on in the Roma Press family. Riza says 2 questions. One, how on earth did Mourinho accept to hire a player who's always injured like Sanchez? Okay, well, I think that's one question. So I think Mourinho wanted somebody else. I think he wanted Marcel Sabitzer. Sabitzer could only leave on a permanent deal, and Bayern were looking to earn 20 million, which is what Borussia Dortmund gave them. And Thiago Pinto was like, listen, there is a very low cost operation for Sanchez, and Sanchez is a quality player, a cheap player, but an injury-prone player, and that's the risk with him. That's why Roma also got Leandro Paredes in the deal. They didn't go for, they didn't let Nemanja Matic leave before securing Paredes. So that sort of indicates that Roma were more or less aware of the injury history of Renato Sanches. And Renato Sanches, as Thiago Pinto said, is a big gamble. He can turn out to be a wonderful player for you if he keeps his form relatively stable, or he can be just a big shot in the dark. And it seems like that's what's happening, right, guys? I mean, Renato Sanches starts against Empoli, plays 45 minutes, not a lot, but quality minutes, scores a goal, and overall is a very positive presence on the pitch. And then against Sheriff, it all seems like it's going to be quite okay once again. He was supposed to play another 45 minutes last night, and after 26 or 27, he had to leave the pitch with an apparent muscle injury in his right thigh. His condition is yet to be determined by the club's medical staff, so we don't know if he's going to be on Sunday or if it's going to be a lengthy stop. Um, so, hello from Serbia. Hello from Serbia. That's awesome to see. Jose Mourinho is in our chat. Ciao, fellow Romanistas. Hello, Jose. Um, Watching from Thailand. It's crazy, guys. I love it. This is why we do it. This is the Roma Press connection right there. Karsdorp, arguably best right back from last 5 games. Karsdorp is definitely the kind of player that I think now has like a personal agenda going for him. He was surprisingly he was the player to attend the pre-match press conference alongside Jose Mourinho. You know, it's always weird to see those two together since they had that falling out almost a year ago, because all signs were pointing to Karsdorp potentially leaving the club this summer. And instead, we see him now try to reclaim the position that used to be his. You know, when Paulo Fonseca was here, Karsdorp was one of the best players, one of the best performers for the team. Those are the years where he got the majority of his assists, and also in Mourinho's first season. But it almost felt like Karsdorp has no business with this team anymore. And instead, he went out for the pre-match press conference and said openly to reporters, you know, this is my home. I'm focused on this team. I want to give my best. You know, the dispute with Mourinho is behind me. I have a contract until 2025. And the thing that I get is that this guy wants to sort of ride it out into the sunset until the last day of his contract. So, watching from Thailand, amazing. Happy to get a result in Moldova, says Camille, on a Thursday night after Empoli. Too used to Roma roller coaster mentality. It's good to keep on getting good results. Definitely, you know, in this case, anything goes, right? I mean, this is to even see Roma not lose their heads, not lose their cool after that equalizer from Sheriff is impressive in of itself. I know that it's Sheriff. This is a team that should be a meme. They're not a meme. They're quite okay, you know. Still, we can never take these things for granted with Roma when it's a midweek fixture in the middle of nowhere, with little time to prepare. Roma always make it difficult on themselves. They were about to make it difficult on themselves early on in the match. Thankfully, it wasn't the case. Now you have to win against Slavia Praha, and you can hope to secure first place in the group. You know, make life easier for yourself. Last year we lost against Ludogorets. Ultimately, that cost us. You had to play an extra round of games, and Roma are the last team that need such a pain. This is a team that has played so many games over these last 2 years that if you can avoid playing two more games, then you should take that ticket, you know. And I'm glad that Roma had the determination not to let that scoreline of 1-1 get to them, and accept it, because overall, you know, I had seen that movie so many times of Roma, you know, getting the opponent getting an equalizer. Roma getting a flukish goal. Okay, that's already something. But then the opponent gets that equalizer, and for a minute there, I was afraid that Roma might just accept it and, you know, go home with the fact that, oh, you know, well, it's 1-1, it's a draw, it's fine, it's not the end of the world. Instead, thankfully for Romelu Lukaku, who with one shot on goal gets his goal, that was a very welcome sight. And that's exactly why you brought the guy in the first place. You know, like Paulo Dybala, you brought Paulo Dybala in order for the opponent to lose their mind when playing against him with his dribbling, with his footwork. You brought in Romelu Lukaku because he is that kind of striker who can make the difference with one shot. So this team badly needed it last season, right? So um, let's see, Johnny from Perth, from Australia. Thank you for listening and watching us, Johnny. I can imagine that it's quite late where you are right now, so thank you for sticking with me. Love the podcast. Well, thank you so much, Johnny, and thank you to everybody joining in today. I really appreciate it that people are taking the time out of their busy schedule on a Friday. What role position do you prefer to see Cristante play in moving forward? Asks Austin. I don't know, because now I feel stupid. I was actually saying that Cristante should be the one playing as a playmaker. Paredes should be the one playing as a mezzala. And instead, Mourinho continues to stick to what he first suggested and what initially didn't work, right? Because we said, well, Paredes looks lost out there. He needs to have guys running around him. But now it seems to work because Cristante is doing exactly what I asked of him to do, which is run around, be a force both in the defense and in the attack. Cristante is doing it all in these last two games. He's been everywhere. Honestly, he's been everywhere. The fact that we are not talking about him as the man of the match of these last two games is just because Paulo Dybala and Lukaku have been so crucial and to these two performances. But Cristante, it has really grown into perhaps the closest that we've seen him replicate that role that he had at Atalanta. I mean, there he plays with a lot of fierceness and just a lot of pace and a lot of strength and sort of all over the pitch, which is a welcome sight, right? Because last season he was more static. More static. He was more playing more prominently in front of the defense. He was responsible for the tackles, for breaking up the play, whereas here he's really playing kind of far up the pitch. So I don't know. I mean, if he continues to perform this way, then it's a no-brainer. And if Paredes plays like he did yesterday, I thought yesterday it was the best performance that he's had in these last in this stretch since his return. Then we may be on to something finally. So let's see what else. Oh, hello from Sweden. Hello, Harnesek. Thank you so much for tuning in. HH HH asks, Renato Sanches and Dybala is instructed to report any discomfort to avoid big injuries. I think he will be on the bench. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, obviously with Renato Sanches, he's exactly the kind of player that we feared Dybala might be, and also you have to watch out anything for these guys, and especially Renato Sanches. Even yesterday, Jose Mourinho was like, this guy has played at top clubs. He's played at Bayern, PSG. He played briefly for Lille, and anywhere he went, he's experienced the same problems, and nobody knows why. And so when yesterday he decides to come off after 28 minutes, despite the fact that Jose Mourinho was willing to only play him 45 minutes, I really hope that it's nothing serious, and I hope it was just preemptively to avoid anything more serious. Exactly, because to in my mind, if Renato Sanches can play those 55% of games this season, he can be a force of nature. I mean, this guy is unreal if fit. We saw even against Empoli, which I may, I think he was like at 60% fitness. He was still, I mean, absolutely, absolutely killer. So I think Roma need a difference maker of his kind in the midfield, and he can be the guy. Unfortunately, this injury record is not on his side. Let's see. Yes, sir, says El Shaarawy was completely out of it yesterday. I agree. I suspect he will fall further the picking order to all attackers and attacking midfielders we have. I think, well, definitely with the attackers, definitely he hasn't shown as much as Belotti. So I think Belotti needs to play off the bench more frequently than El Shaarawy. But El Shaarawy could always be a valuable asset, replacing either Spinazzola or Zalewski. um, Stefan lost motivation after he got his new contract. I don't know. Maybe it's a position thing, um, because um, because so far in these few games, I don't know whether there was a clear plan for him. It was more of a with him. It was more of a, well, the others are resting or the others aren't fit enough. So let's see if he can work with Belotti, or let's see if he can work with Romelu Lukaku. I think everything will be better if he gets a shot at playing on the left instead of Spinazzola or Zalewski, who are going to need a rest anyway. Cristante is getting the assists, goals like Atalanta, yeah, to his game when Paredes is on the pitch, yeah. And if they continue to complement each other this way, then man, I'm happy. I'm very happy. Wow, hello from Punjab, India. Love the podcast. Thank you so much, Gurjan. That means a lot. I'm still trying to figure out how we managed to connect so many people from all over the world. Really, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Um, Andy calling Cristante to play how he's currently playing. No, no, no. I'm tipping my hat to Mourinho because I was unconvinced. I thought he got it wrong because I was looking at Paredes and it seemed to me like he had no business playing where he was playing. But so far it seems that they found something, and hopefully they can continue to work with each other. If you manage to, for example, include Bove in that starting lineup, I think that could be very interesting. I think that could be perhaps the most dynamic our midfield has been in years. A trio of Bove, Paredes, and Cristante, I think that would be fantastic. um, let's see. How close are we to Paredes and Cristante being nailed on starters? I think we're very close. Um, Paredes was very good last night. I thought looked very comfortable, relaxed at home. Yeah, I mean, obviously the opponent helps, but those are the games that are supposed to help, right? We can't expect new players to get acclimated when playing important games against tough opponents. It's these small, tough teams that make life they make life difficult for you. You have to figure things out, and that's how it goes. With Paredes, I thought the first few games were a bit harsh on him, especially because the idea of him just slotting into Nemanja Matic's role was never realistic in my mind. But now that Cristante is working so hard on the offensive end, and really he's playing, uh, as close to Dybala as I've ever seen him play, then to me, I mean, that's fantastic news because we need midfielders who score, we need midfielders who run, midfielders who support the attack. We know we can't just leave Lukaku by himself. And if you watch that goal, the goal that Lukaku scores that gives us the win is a goal that is born out of Cristante's positioning. It's Dybala, obviously, being his usual brilliant self, but it's also Cristante who all of a sudden is so far up the pitch that he can just, touch with his heel the ball slightly, just drive it in Lukaku's path and get an assist that way. And it's something that I don't think we saw enough last season. Let's see. Joey Palmieri, our good friend, listening in once again. Hello. Disappointed about Renato. He's great when fit. Well, guys, let's keep our fingers crossed. We still don't know the exact um, condition that he's in. We don't know if it's serious or not. I mean, he could be playing against Torino for all we know, or he might be missing the next 2-3 weeks. So let's wait and see. They will probably know more either this evening or tomorrow at the latest. Um, I remember when you guys told us Renato's injury record. Now I'm seeing it live and it's bad. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there is a reason why this guy was projected to be one of the great midfielders of his generation based on that Euro in 2016. And there is a reason why we haven't heard as much of him as we should have over these last 7 years. There is a reason, and that's the reason, unfortunately. Joey Peruzza, our good patron, says, "Would you rather focus on the league or Europa League?" I feel we will burn ourselves out if we make a run in Europa League this year. I said it, and I will continue saying it. I said it plenty of times. For me, the mission this year, the thing you have to achieve is Champions League football. Now that force Roma to rule out Europa League? No, and I don't think Roma are in a position to do so. After all, nothing is given. I mean, this Serie A this year is very as competitive as it was last season, for that top four spot. Do I want to see Roma play with the Primavera team all the way to the quarterfinals of the Europa League? Yeah, I would love that. I think Roma have a better depth this season, but that doesn't mean that injuries don't happen. We saw what happened in March, April of last season, right? We were sitting third in the league, third by the time the Real Sociedad game rolled around, and we lost. Who did we lose? We lost Paulo Dybala against Atalanta. We lost Chris Smalling. We lost Rick Karsdorp. We lost Lorenzo Pellegrini. Um, Arguably, I mean, that's four starters in like a span of 2 weeks. And that really took a toll on us, and it basically just crushed our hopes of top four. So I would like to say focus all your energy on top four, but I also think that is I don't think, I know it's not realistic for Roma under Mourinho. They will, and especially after what happened in Budapest, they will still try and go for that Europa League. Zalewski was unwatchable yesterday. Is he the new Florenzi? Perhaps we need to play him in his original position again. He's always been on the defensive side, but it's not working offensively either. Says yes, sir. I agree that Zalewski is probably one of the worst players so far this season. Has been one of the worst players for Roma for quite some time, and I think exactly you mentioned that name. You mentioned it, yes, sir. I didn't mention it. You did. I am afraid that Zalewski might be suffering of the Florenzi syndrome, which means that this is a player that got lost along the way. The fact that Mourinho started him, to play as this additional option on the left, when Matias Vigna was not playing up to his potential, or Leonardo Spinazzola was injured. Zalewski, all of a sudden, this kid from the Primavera, who used to play more as a number 10 in the Primavera than anything else, he gets the spot as a left back, and uh, he hasn't been good. He hasn't been good, and I think there is a problem now, because I don't think this is a guy whom you can play anywhere else on the pitch. He's not offering you much. Physically, he's quite small. It's kind of like Florenzi. Florenzi got lost. Florenzi was a bit older than Zalewski is now, obviously. When everybody started to label him as a jolly, which is really the curse of any Roma player. But with Zalewski, something must be done, because this is not sustainable. He's not making a difference for the better. He's actually quite detrimental to the team. He slows down the tempo. He's inaccurate with the crosses. He loses the ball stupidly, and he's almost a non-factor defensively. So that's a tough situation. That's why I continue to suggest Stefan El Shaarawy to take over that role, because Leonardo Spinazzola hasn't been great either. So it is a problem. That specific position is a problem for Roma. Mukti says, yeah, Cristante was often mocked. He needs more credit, and his fitness is rock solid. Cristante, from the fitness point of view, him and Mancini are absolutely amazing. The number of games that they've played over these last 3 years. I mean, Cristante, guys, by the end of the season, he's gonna break some kind of record in terms of appearances made. I know that if he stays at Roma until the end of his contract, if he actually sees the expire of his contract, he'll be one of the top players in terms of club appearances. Let that sink in. And this is a guy who came in 2018. So, um, good afternoon from Malawi. Wow, thank you, Kodwani. Hard to get the latest live press regarding Roma. Any reason why it takes you 8 minutes of introduction on a 40-minute show? um, it's because I want more people to join us. When you start off right off the bat, there is nobody here. It's 5, 8 people, and I would like a bit more, a bit more energy. And also, this is all about your input. So, if you want my opinion or more Roma news, you can listen to the podcast, and that's a one-way channel for John and I to say what's on our mind. So um, I hope you can enjoy our podcast more than you enjoy this live stream. HH, Bove bullying sheriff players is wonderful to watch. Yeah, Bove really is the kind of guy that is. Uh, I think Bove is doing the Zalewski role better in terms of that. This is a guy who is still not a starter for Roma. He can be a starter, and actually, he could be a starter for I think a number of teams in Serie A. But for Roma, he's becoming this almost the sixth man. You know, it's like it's in like in the NBA. Like you had Manu Ginobili on the Spurs, and he used to come off and lead the second unit. That's what Bove is starting to do. Quite skillfully, and I'm really excited because I think this is a player who has the potential, maybe not world class, but still has the potential and has good traits. And I don't think we've seen enough from him. I think, for example, he could be scoring much more. He could be, you know, much more important in Roma's offensive phase. He likes to move forward, but at the same time, he is everywhere. Into just whenever the opponent's got the ball, he's everywhere, and he plays with that kind of commitment that we may have seen Zalewski play in the opening stages of his time as a first team player for Roma, and that's with him. That's how it is. With with Bove, he has more competition in the midfield, and I think that's exciting with him. And if there is one thing that I like about Mourinho is that he stuck by him. He could have easily, with Bove, he could have easily dismissed him one of the summers. He could have said to Roma, "Listen, guys, I cannot work with a 20-year-old. He's fine, but I want something else." And instead, he's actually very committed to helping Bove grow. So hopefully he can become a regular part of the team for this Europa League campaign. I think those are games that you can easily handle from the start. Drew, our good patron, says, "Hey, a little late to the party." Hey, Drew, thank you for being here. Would be nice to see Zalewski play in his correct position. Feels like he's run out of talent being played, how he's being played. But the question is where is his correct position? You understand what I'm saying? That's what I said when I said that it's the Florenzi syndrome. The Florenzi syndrome is we forgot where Florenzi was effective, and we forgot where he was useful. Florenzi went from, with Garcia, who he was playing as a winger. Then for Antonio Conte in the national team, he was playing as a midfielder, and with us, he was playing as a right back. And then he was all over the place, and his contribution started to fall off a cliff once he got injured. I hope that's not the case with Zalewski, but I really do wonder where his position is within this team. Is he again a number 10? Would you play him, for example, instead of Hussein Mouawar? I don't know. I think you'd have to find somebody who can cover for him defensively, because he's a big hole there in the team defensively. So you'd have to find an alternative for him that covers him on the defensive end. Let's see. Feyenoord was the game that killed our Serie A season. Oh, because of the injuries. Yeah, I mean that period of time between Real Sociedad and Feyenoord, it was pretty difficult. Um, Roman, it's 6:30 a.m. here. I need my sleep. Oh, you're on the West Coast, Roman. Thank you for joining us even this early in the day. I hope you can have a good coffee as you join the chat. Karsdorp looked good offensively, but was easily passed by the winger. Paredes and Llorente saved him. Well, Karsdorp is always. I mean, Karsdorp was, we called him when he came in, right? We said the La Locomotiva. I mean, Karsdorp is a train. This guy, if you let him loose, he'll always deliver. And I remember him being disastrous on the defensive end throughout the years. He got a bit better. He's still somebody that I think as a right back for the crosses, in terms of the quality of the output, he's still the best option we have on the bench. And there are risks that you're running with Karsdorp, but I think honestly, compared to the other options that we have for that same position, Karsdorp is the one who gives you more pace, more quality on those crosses. I think more unpredictability. Karsdorp is really a quality player when going forward. So, un saluto da Taiwan. Wow, Francesco, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Taiwan. Francesco, okay, thank you. So, okay, I won't translate what Francesco is saying because Francesco is making fun of me. But I love you, Francesco. Thank you for joining us. Will Mourinho have more competition for positions like with Pellegrini compete with Aouar or Smalling with Llorente? Well, I mentioned that with uh, with with Ndika starting now, it's going to be interesting how Mourinho proceeds to, because this is a guy who clearly needs minutes, and Mourinho himself is saying that he needs to get acclimated with the rest of the team. Well, then what happens with Smalling? What happens with Llorente? I think those are the two guys that are touchable. Gianluca Mancini, definitely not. He's the vice captain. So we'll have to see what next, how he plays it out. I do think that Pellegrini and Aouar can be mutually replaced. I mean, Aouar was slow yesterday, clearly not 100% fit. But with this schedule, nobody is ever going to be 100% fit. So we might as well get used to that. Abhai says, hi, say hi to El Salvador, my dude. HH question: Roma have the option to put Azmoun in Europa League list instead of anyone, or UEFA don't accept? No, HH, Azmoun cannot be included in the UEFA list. The UEFA list excluded the likes of Rasmus Christensen and Azmoun to take part in it because due to the financial fair play settlement agreement, there is a need for Roma to not exceed a certain amount of costs of the whole roster that participates in the Europa League, and the only players you can exclude from the list are players that you signed in the last transfer window. So Roma came to the conclusion that Sardar Azmoun and Rasmus Christensen are the ones who can be easily replaced, seeing as we have. Sorry, there was a plane flying over my house, a bit too close for my taste. Seeing as Belotti is the option off the bench to replace Lukaku, Azmoun was kept at Trigoria. Same thing with Rasmus Christensen, given that Zeki Selik and Eric Karsdorp are there. So they're not eligible. They cannot be included again in the list. Whatever happens, whoever gets injured, as Sardar Azmoun and Erasmus Christensen cannot play in Roma's Europa League campaign. Um, Stefan El Shaarawy looked slow and needed more game time to get fit. Aouar looked scared to drop deep and help in build up. Yeah, Aouar was a bit timid yesterday. I think he knew it, and Mourinho knew it. Good afternoon from Nigeria. I think Zalewski was good last 2 seasons offensively. If more advanced role is given to him, he can rediscover himself. You're probably the first person to say that about Zalewski last season. I think he was very good in his first season on that left wing, but last season I can hardly remember a good performance from him, which is a shame. It's really a shame. Bove reminds me of Perotta. Can't be deemed a skillful player, but the grinta and his spirit really reeks. Who do you think shows most tenacity from the roster? Um, well, I mean, obviously, Bove, Gianluca Mancini are, I think, the first guys that come to mind when it comes to pressing the opponent and really getting into the opponent's face. I think Ndika showed good things. I think he showed good interceptions, good anticipation, and physically he is a monster. So. Lukaku as well. I mean, look at how he gets that goal off. He basically spins around and has four opponents on him, and it's like nothing. It's like it's his bread and butter. It almost seemed like he knew exactly where the ball was going before he got the shot off. Thoughts on Dika? Looked a little shaky last night, but I want to keep seeing him being named. Yeah, and that's, I think that's the right approach with Ndika. With any defender, it's a matter of, more than any other position, I think it's a matter of confidence. It's a matter of confidence. That's why Roma were so surprised with Diego Llorente. I'm pretty sure that Diego Llorente last season came in and nobody believed in him playing any sort of role within the team, much less extending his stay in the capital. And because somehow there was this idea that, hey, this guy's coming from Leeds, he hasn't had any significant playing time there this season, and we are in the run for the Europa League. We're not going to mess this up by bringing in a Spanish defender who doesn't know anything. And instead, he just slotted in comfortably and got along well with his teammates. I think that's the key with Ndika as well. It's playing time, and more playing time. We need a goalkeeper. Svilar wasn't also good enough. I think Svilar had some good moments. Obviously, it wasn't. I mean, it's not a 5-star performance. And again, just like with the defender, it's not easy to really read the kind of player that one is. Right? Think about last season. Svilar plays the first game against Ludogorets. Roma lose that game 2-1, and Svilar fails to get any playing time until April. And I think that was a questionable approach from Mourinho. I don't know if that benefits anyone, especially a backup goalkeeper. What did you think of Jose saying Sanchez gets injured at every club and that is an issue to work on? Yes, I mean, Jose said that, and Jose also said that Roma can't seem to figure it out. Why? It's going to be, I think, more difficult with Renato than it was with Paulo Dybala, but if they can even get 2 or 3 games in a row for Renato Sanches, I think that's when it really opens up for him. Obviously, it's easier said than done. Let's see. Last season, Zalewski had to fill in on the right for 75% of the season. I agree. Yes, that was the case. Him being a left wing back is arguable. Him being a right wing back is never going to happen. Exactly. So, who benefits? Who benefits in this? Zalewski certainly doesn't. The team certainly doesn't. Mourinho doesn't. So something must be done in order to make Zalewski useful again. Guys, we have 67 people watching and only 32 likes. I need more likes because we need more people. We need more traction. We need more interactions. So please smash that like button and help support this channel. Svilar was fine, says Joe. I think a game like this is very easy to say anything significant about a goalkeeper. He did fine in certain moments. Perhaps he could have done more in others. He took some risks. Sometimes it paid off. In the end, it paid off. But we have to watch him in this group stage, and I think. His place, unfortunately, is not certain in this group stage. Mourinho said that had Rui Patricio conceded against Empoli, he would have played in the Europa League as well. So I don't know how to take that. If I were Miles VR, I would not take that as a vote of confidence. People were too hard on Roma in the first 3 games, says Sufyan. Put your hand on your heart and tell me we deserved 1 point in 3 games. The only game we deserved to lose was Milan. Absolutely agree. The Milan game was really an awful performance. The other 2 games against Salernitana and Las Verona were unfortunate and not good enough, but perhaps better than what we got in return. Morning, Roman. Thank you for joining us. Just joined the broadcast. Thank you for being here with us. Camille says, isn't it a bit worrying to always wait for Dybala to bring some creativity in the attack? We need more creative players. I think if Hussein Mouar is fit last night, I think that is a game changer. I think if Renato Sanches is fit and doesn't walk off after half an hour, we're talking about a different game, a different result, a different outcome. It's true. Dybala is your star player, and obviously, the team relies on him as their star player. With the arrival of Romelu Lukaku, it always also changes that complexity. Romelu Lukaku will likely become, the player that we cling on to on these occasions when we need one crucial goal, just to get it off our chest and just to continue playing with the minimal confidence that we need to get a result home. And that's exactly what we did yesterday. I mean, yesterday, the second half was fine. It was better than the first half. It was fine. You did what you had to do. You scored that goal, and you didn't need to score more. You just scored what you had to. You did what you did, and then you had to go home. That's it. And I think we need creativity, but we also need to accept the fact that Roma has a handful of really, really good players, and 2 of them are attackers. One of them is Paulo Dybala, and it's like that. When you have these star players, you build a system that focuses on them, and so it's very difficult. Then, obviously, that's the risk, is when they're not on the pitch, you have to figure things out. Hey, Andy, good to be here and see you live again. Thank you, Ivan. Omar says, Andy, hello from London. How likely do you think that Lukaku joins Roma at the end of the year? Does it rely on Champions League football? Saw some rumors about it. Lukaku has a release clause of 37 million right now. That's what Chelsea did when they decided to send Lukaku to Roma on a dry loan. They also included a release clause in his Chelsea contract. For 37 million. So that's his cost. So I think it is, it's not certain that Roma would bet on him long term, but I think it's quite believable if Roma achieve Champions League football, therefore they get more money, it would become their focus to make Lukaku's stay permanent. That depends on Champions League football and on his performances this season. I mean, if he is able to take this team by the hand and deliver to you the kind of performances that we saw him deliver in these last 2 games, which means working with the bare minimum. Like last night, he gets one shot on goal, and he scores. If he is able to do that in the long run throughout the season, then you better believe that Roma will do anything it takes to sign him. Francesco says, do you think Roma under Mourinho can resemble the amazing football we saw under Spalletti bis when we played false nine, Salah, Perotti, Elsha, Ninja, Totti, Pjanic? Ah, yes. Well, the famous few months Spalletti bis, right? Because when Edin Dzeko was basically demoted to the bench because of how ineffective he was. I think Roma have all the necessary quality for something like that, honestly. Obviously I don't think we have the kind of player that Salah was, because Salah was just he was an engine. He was he was the kind of guy that you have on FIFA. This is unstoppable. He was like Theo Walcott on FIFA, but in real life, and also scoring goals. So we don't have that kind of profile. But if you think about it, and it's always these big ifs, because that's what Roma are right now. They're if Dybala is fit, if Renato Sanches is healthy, if Romelu Lukaku gets one decent shot on goal, which is not guaranteed, mind you. It's not guaranteed. If Houssem Aouar is able to turn back the clock and become the Houssem Aouar, who was so talked about during his early years at Lyon, then I think Roma have the quality to play more attractive football, especially with, say, Cristante growing into that role of the mezzala that we're seeing him now in. If Paredes is able to keep delivering quality performances, if he is able to work on this positioning, that is, I mean, Roma have become a big if. They're a team that if everything is clicking, then I think they're going to be fine. They're not a team that deals in certainties. They're not a team that deals in facts. They're a team that deals in hopes. The hope of having a team at Mourinho's full disposal. That's what Mourinho said a few days ago. He said this team has the potential to be great, but it really depends on everybody being fit, being healthy, and if that is okay, then we can be better than what we saw, right? He said the Empoli win was good, was not good enough to win 7-0, but it shows you that there is potential. So HH says, I think Renato faked an injury yesterday because he looked so uninterested in the game and scared. We'll see. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. If Lukaku stays, do you reckon Abraham is definitely sold? Asks Luca. I think Abraham was destined to leave Roma this summer. His injury just delayed the sale. If Abraham recovers from this injury, he's still going to be sold. In my mind, he's going to be sold. Not for a lot of money. You probably could have gotten 40 million back this summer, but he got injured. So that's going to be a problem for any team that wants to sign him on a permanent deal. Joey says, I wouldn't mind keeping Lukaku, but 37 million is too much. Joey, I think really we have to make these evaluations at the end of the season. It's one thing to say 37 million when Lukaku has 2 goals to his name. It's another thing to say 37 million when the guy has, say, 30 goals to his name or 10, so it can go either way. Sufyan, if Lukaku can do this a whole season and the rest can chip in, we might be in for a really good season. We'll be a nightmare in big games and cup knockouts when they gain steam. If, right? It's all about the ifs. Italian teams need to show great performances in UEFA games for 5 tickets to Champions League. Yeah, I saw that a lot of people now are hoping for this coefficients, right? I know that we have Drew in the from the patron chat. It's a big thing, the coefficients. We want to see the Italian teams perform well enough this season in Europe in order to make it easier for other clubs to achieve a top 4. So I think really it has to always depend on you. Roma cannot continue to hope in miracles. They're already hoping in the miracle of, say, having Renato Sanches healthy, having Dybala healthy. At the end of the day, it all comes down to, are you resilient enough? Can you score goals? Can you score more than your opponent? Can you keep a clean sheet? Honestly, Roma have to answer yes to all those questions in order to qualify for Champions League. It's simple enough. Damir says El Shaarawy is an amazing player, but Mourinho is putting him in the wrong position. He should play on the wing and not as striker. I think El Shaarawy has said many times that he likes to play so far up the pitch. I do think you can't just throw him out there hoping that he gels with anybody. I mean, this is a guy that is getting a little bit of playing time with Paulo Dybala, a little bit of playing time with Belotti, a little bit of playing time with Romelu Lukaku, and so everybody's growing more consistent with the exception of him. So I do agree that you need to figure out a proper position for him. And if you decide to play him there, play him there. If you decide to have him come off the bench, have him come off the bench. SB Cole says, I like Lukaku as a player more than Tammy, but I like Tammy more. No offense to Lukaku. I don't think he has taken any offense to that, SB. I think these are matters that I'm not too familiar with, but I know what you mean. If Dybala doesn't play, says Damir, with Lukaku, it should be Belotti or Asmun next to him and not Elsha. He is a winger and an amazing one. I agree. I agree with that. I agree with the statement that uh, with in Dybala's absence, Lukaku should always be partnered up with another striker. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what he did at Inter so well with Lautaro and with Dzeko, two strikers, not wingers. You could play Tammy next to Lukaku with Dybala behind them. Dream scenario if we get in Champions League football. We might see it in the last 2-3 months of this season. I mean, it again depends on how, unfortunately, Tammy Abraham comes back from this injury. And we know it's a serious one, an ACL tear for a striker. It's a difficult injury to come back from. And it also really depends on Roma's long-term plans for Tammy. Again, Tammy Abraham and Roger Ibanez were supposed to be the two players to be sold this summer. Easy. It was supposed to be quite straightforward. Roger Ibanez left, although Roma were hoping to get a little bit more money and maybe a better offer earlier on the summer. Ibanez left at the beginning of August. In the meantime, Tammy seemed destined to leave, and then last match day he breaks his ACL. So, Daya from Ball. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, the city of Bill Burr. Roman Legion says Roma's 2 goals this year are 1, balance, 2, competition, 2, balance, competition, and stay healthy. Yeah, well, the balance over across these two competitions, I do agree. This team desperately needs to find consistency, and in order to do it, you need to build streaks. I mean, how long has it been since we saw a proper winning streak from Roma? I mean, a proper one, not draws, no, just win after win after win. I think it's been too long since we saw something like that. An amazing player would fit anywhere. Elsha is all right, but the magic is fading away. I mean, the magic is fading away. The guy is 31 years old or something like that. He was signed, and his extension was made possible to the fact that he is a good option off the bench, and he doesn't cost you a lot of money. So his decision to stay at Roma helped the club save a lot of money on what otherwise would have been a position that needed investment. Samson says, just let Totti come back in a meaningful role in the club, and I'm happy. We'll see more of that. I'm sure that more rumors and more news about that will start to pour in the coming weeks before the end of the year. So, when can Kumbula play again? Kumbula is probably going to be back. From what I remember, he got injured, I think, a month before Tammy, wasn't it? So, if everything goes well, he should be starting to train with the team probably in January, I would imagine. So, in order to be back by February. So, after Roma beat Sheriff, they turned their attention to Torino. We're playing on Sunday once again in the evening. Once again, the last fixture of this Serie A round, which to me it's. I really don't like it. I always prefer when Roma play a bit earlier on in the day. There is less pressure involved, and this is a team that in order exactly to build that streak, they need less pressure, as little pressure as possible. It's not going to be straightforward. Torino won their last game, and I think they recovered some important players, Vlasic and Ilic, and it's going to be interesting to see how Roma approach this game. Also, with the fact that you're playing against a really good Genoa side a few days later, so it's a tough schedule. You're looking at a very, very intense run of games right before the next international break. So can Roma do it? Who will be available? Lorenzo Pellegrini should be back on the bench. Chris Smalling is doubtful. I don't think Mourinho will risk him in this weekend fixture. I think if he comes back, it's going to be next week. Renato Sanches is the big question. I think Paredes will once again start with potentially Aouar, and obviously we're going to see Paulo Dybala being a bit safeguarded by Mourinho. He said it himself. He doesn't want Dybala to play as much as, say, Lukaku. He made the difference very, very clear. Lukaku is a player who is in desperate need of minutes. He is a striker who thrives by playing the full 90 minutes, whereas Dybala is more fragile. Dybala will likely play a little bit over 60 minutes against Torino, because again, like with Renato Sanches, you have to constantly keep an eye out on Dybala. Um, Roma need creative midfielders who can slot killer passes to the strikers to convert. Oh, are you talking about Brian Cristante? Brian Cristante is a guy that, you may not notice. You may start to notice this now when things are going well for him, but he always makes those passes and he always reads the game the way he did in these last two games. He always. The fact is that now he can be a bit more showy because he's playing up front. But if you think about his years with Fonseca, always, even when he was playing as a center back, always trying to deliver that killer pass forward, usually with a long ball. Against Sheriff, we saw him do something very, very simple yet very effective. And I think that's where he excels at. Like it or not, Brian Cristante has good vision and makes difficult things much easier than they look. So I'm quite confident that if he keeps this going, if Mourinho can continue to integrate him in that more attacking role in the midfield, Brian Cristante can open up a lot of space for a guy, say like Romelu Lukaku, who needs that space, needs those balls, needs those quality looks, because a guy like Romelu Lukaku can score those goals. And he, as you saw, he doesn't need much space. He doesn't need many chances. He scores easy. Um, how do you reintegrate Pellegrini when he comes back with Cristante and Paredes in form? That's a good question. How does Cristante's role change with Pellegrini there? What is Pellegrini's role? Because we saw with Mourinho, Pellegrini has played also in a multitude of positions, playing more advanced, behind the striker, in front of the defense. I think that's the same issue that we have with a lot of players, that you start to basically turn a player into like a Swiss Army knife. And at the end of the day, the good thing about it is you always have a backup option. The bad thing about it is that player at some point loses their own purpose on the pitch. And I think with Pellegrini, especially playing through so many injuries, it's become quite evident that he doesn't look comfortable most of the time. So, guys, I see we have grown in numbers. I just want to invite you all to click the like button so that more people can see this live stream and join us. Hello, Carlos, our good patron. Jew, we could honestly do with two Bryans in the midfield. Hey, I mean, remember what De Rossi said after that first season? Everybody considered Brian Cristante a fraud after that first season. Everybody was getting on him for not being good enough and not justifying that price tag from Atalanta. And in the midst of all that skepticism, De Rossi said, I would love to have 100 of guys like Cristante on the team, because of how he fights at all times on the pitch. And people were like, what? Like, Cristante, of all players? De Rossi, on his final press conference, De Rossi, he lists Cristante as the example to follow. And fast forward, 4 years later, because that was 2019 when De Rossi retired, or rather left Roma and went to Boca. We are here talking about how good Cristante can be at times, right? Pellegrini's roles on the bench, Joey. Well, I think Pellegrini is too important to sit on the bench if he figures it out. If Pellegrini, just like Dybala and Renato Sanches, if they're healthy, well, Pellegrini, if he figures it out, he can be really one of the key players, not only for Roma but also in Serie A. And we saw that in Mourinho's first season, and in Fonseca's, I believe, second season, I would like to say. I don't want to be, where he was just really, really good, going double digits in assists and scoring goals. Um, Yes, yes, Carlos, we're happy with the win. We see Bital, hello from India. Hello, thank you for following this live stream. Um, so we are headed into this weekend fixture playing against Torino. Renato Sanches is a big question mark. Pellegrini likely to be back on the bench, and Mourinho back on the bench as well. Unlikely to present the match in his pre-game press conference. So we'll see how Roma are able to sustain this rhythm of this schedule, which is going to be relentless. You're playing against Alberto Gilardino's Genoa, who I think are doing wonders this year, and you could potentially meet Kevin Strootman, our good old friend. With Roma, it's going to be very important to keep those clean sheets, to build that defensive solidity back up with Evan Dijk on the pitch. You need to get consistency at the back as well. And it's going to be very important for Romelu Lukaku to just keep doing what he's doing right now. The team, I understand they can't figure it out for him, but they need to keep delivering him those quality looks, at least one or two per game, so that he can get that one shot on goal that then ultimately makes the difference. He's that kind of player. I think it's evident by now. Samson says De Rossi is such a nice guy. When I met him, he spoke to me for like 10 minutes. I miss him. Yeah, De Rossi is probably one of the most approachable players of all time. The guy went to disguised. Disguised as another person to the Curva Sud, and people didn't even realize that he was there. The Genoa game is a trap game for Roma. If we find a way to Torino, we can't rest on our laurels. Genoa will be a war. I think those two games are far from guaranteed. By no means are these easy games. No way. No way are these easy games. Torino have seem to have figured it out. Genoa have been honestly the surprise for Serie A, in my opinion, just like Udinese were in these opening stages of the season last year. Genoa are not to be underestimated, and Roma are in no position to underestimate anybody. This is a team that desperately needs points. We won 7-0 against Empoli, fantastic, but we got 4 points. We're behind Frosinone with Di Francesco, so let that sink in, and realize that this team, as excited as they made us feel over these last 2 matches, they're still a long way away from what they could potentially be. Ju says Torino have a great coach, need to be careful. Yeah, I mean, Juric is one of the all-time shithousers in this league, so he'll make life miserable for you, and we have to realize that, and we have to not play into their hands. It's going to be very important to maintain some kind of semblance of game plan on Sunday. Torino, any Ivan Juric led team excels at breaking up your play and breaking your ass, and making life difficult for you. So that is going to be something that Roma will need to work on, and hopefully we have more clarity on Renato Sanchez's condition, because again, this is a guy that, if healthy, he can be a game changer for you. So I wanted to thank everybody who joined us today for this live stream. I think I will end it here. In the meantime, I wanted to invite you all to follow our podcast if you haven't done so already. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do so. We'll keep doing the live streams, and we'll keep releasing the video episodes of the podcast on this platform. So every time that now we'll record a podcast, and I'm recording one right after this live stream, you will be able to see John and I interact on here. So consider subscribing, clicking that bell so you get notifications anytime I'm about to go live. And if you like the show, if you like the website, if you like what we're doing, which I think you do, because you wouldn't be here otherwise, please consider subscribing to our Patreon and supporting the show, patreon.com/Roma Press. because it really means a lot and it helps us going with these various formats, the website, Twitter, the software that we use for our recordings, and so on and so on. So I wanted to thank everybody for joining me wherever you are in the world. If it's morning, if it's afternoon, if it's evening, if it's night, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you for joining me on this live stream, and I will see you probably on Monday after Roma play Torino on Sunday. In the meantime, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy. Talk to you soon. Thank you for joining me, and see you later.